Peter, I'm sure it's been an interesting 24 hours for you and everybody at the football club. Ryan Lowe has made the decision with you, mutual consent, to leave the football club. How do you feel about that decision 24 hours on, sat here now?
Well, first of all, I wasn't expecting it. Ryan asked to see me yesterday. I sat down with him. He said he thought it was time for a change. Obviously, we had a bad end to last season and we had a difficult game on Friday night. And I think Ryan just felt it was time for him to relieve the pressure and go off with his family, spend some quality time, and that's what he's doing. We spent on and off 4.5 hours together yesterday, and it was absolutely clear that he'd made his mind up and that's what he wanted to do, and therefore we acknowledged that and recognised that he was probably right, that it was time for a change, and therefore respected the decision, and our job now is to build the club and to get the right appointment going forward.
As you said, it was unexpected. A lot of people may be raising the question as, could this have been done earlier? From your point of view, do you think this is okay to happen now, one game into a season, there's 45 games still to go?
Well, the starting point is everybody thinks you should have done something in the past, but you can't change that. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? We're not a hire and fire football club. We've had managers the last few years, Simon for 5 years, I think, Alex for 4, and Ryan was coming up to 3. We had a long, hard look at things in the summer. We had a long chat to Ryan about how we saw last season. Until the last 5 games, we'd had, I think, 18 games and 31 points. But then the last 5 games, we didn't get a point and didn't score a goal. So I think everybody recognised the end was more than disappointing. And therefore we had talked about it and agreed that if we could try and bring in the players that he wanted, we could build on a 10th place finish, which, given our wage bill, 10th place of itself is not a bad finish, albeit we all want to be higher. But it was the way in which it was arrived at that was disappointing, I suppose. So we agreed that we'd go into this season and try and do better, we'd try and strengthen the squad, and therefore it was a fresh start from our point of view. Friday was always a difficult game. Sheffield United were in the Premier League last season. They're a quality side. They've got parachute payments. They've been able to invest in the squad. And to some extent, the manner of the defeat was disappointing because whatever people think about, it's another goalless game as far as our strikers are concerned. A deflection and, a mistake from Freddie. If it had been 0-0, would everybody have been as upset? I don't know. Maybe there would be. But that's irrelevant. The fact is that Ryan asked to see me. He decided he'd had enough. He thought it was time for change, and therefore that's what's happened.
We obviously know what's happening in the short term with Mike Marsh taking over with Ched and Peter Murphy alongside him. What position does this leave the football club in now? Has the work already started on finding a successor?
Well, the minute it was announced, my phone went into meltdown, which is what I expected and hoped for, frankly, because this is a very attractive football club with the job's a very attractive position. I've always got a list of what happens if, and I just did that down this morning. What I will be doing once we finish all of the things we're doing today, which is signing a new player and doing all the media interviews, is to examine who's applied or whose names have been put in. I'm not quite sure sometimes whether the people who've applied know they've applied because it's often agents or other people suggesting. So we will spend a bit of time examining that list, try and whittle it down into who we find potentially attractive, who is potentially available and gettable, because some people are under contract, and however much we might aspire to talk to them and they aspire to talk to us, it might not be possible. But we've got a game against Sunderland, we've got a game against Swansea. That's our priority at the moment, to win those 2 games. And in the meantime, we'll start sifting through the applications and put them into some semblance of order and decide what to do next.
It is impossible for you to sit there and say now when we can expect a new man in the building, but you've mentioned those 2 games then in the statement we've put out this morning. It said next week we'll announce what's happening going forward. In your mind, how likely is it that there's a permanent manager in the dugout by that Luton Town game at Deepdale?
I've no idea. The fact is that we've said 2 games because that's the immediate future. We've got a game against Sunderland and Swansea. I asked Mike if he was prepared to do that, and he said 100% yes. And by the way, he was looking forward to it. He's already put his own stamp on it, I think, because my understanding, without giving too much away, is that the team that will start tomorrow isn't the team that was going to start when I was told it yesterday. So he's already put his own stamp on it, and obviously results will be down to him now. The timing then of what happens next is determined by all sorts of factors. And one of those factors will be who we think we might want to talk to and how easy it is to talk to them. So it could take a week, it could take 3 weeks. We've got an international break coming up, not too distant future. The most important thing is we do the right thing for the football club. And if it takes a week, great. And if it takes 2 or 3 weeks, well, so be it. The critical thing is we have to get it right. And whatever people think about Ryan's tenure here, I've already said that we're not a hire and fire football club. We've had, and I'm not forgetting Frankie's short tenure, but in the main we've had 3 long-serving managers here by football standards, in Simon, Alex and Ryan. So, we need to get it right, and we need to make sure who we appoint is the person who can take us forward. For all criticism Ryan's come under, it's being 13th, 12th and 10th with a wage bill who I believe last season I'm told was the 22nd in the division. So that of itself is an achievement. So I think what we need to do now is to build on that. Our fans are desperate for us to get into the playoffs and ideally the Premier League. They think or criticise us for lacking in ambition. There is no lack of ambition at the football club. We have to operate within financial parameters which are set by financial fair play rules, as well as the investment the owner's family are prepared to put into the business. They're putting about 12 million a year in, and I haven't seen anybody else willing to do that. And if they are, we've always said, come along and here are the keys. But the starting point is we're ambitious. We want to give our fans what they've long waited for, which is Premier League football. It's a tough ask, but we'll do our best to get there, and therefore we'll bring somebody in who we think gives us a better chance than we've had in the last few years in terms of where we finish in the league.
People will infer that the transfers, the signings that we've made this summer were for Ryan Lowe's Preston North End team. Is it fair to say that everybody here as a football club is happy with those additions, and the new manager that comes in, we can't say whether they'll play those players or whether they'll want to move those players on, but the squad here is a squad to be happy with as a football club rather than a Ryan Lowe team?
I think what we tried to do with our recruitment this summer was to, first of all, fill the gaps that have been created by the players who'd left. Secondly, to bring players in who can play in a more flexible formation, because we've had a lot of criticism of the rigidity of a 3-5-2 formula. Some people argue it's 5-3-2. We brought players in who can play wing-backs, bring players in who can play in a 4-3-3. We've got players who can, say, play in a flat back 4 or indeed in a 3 at the back. We've probably got the most flexible squad we've had for some time. That squad has been assembled with the new additions with the chief scout and his team, who report into me, not into the manager. The manager then puts his mark on it by saying he'd prefer the additions in this order of 1, 2 and 3 in terms of the candidates we look at, and then we've tried to see who we could get. But it's a team effort, and the fact that the manager doesn't hiccup that, it just means that the players we've got will play for whoever the new manager is. But these are football club contracts. I've said to a number of people in recent years, including some in recent months, the tenure of football managers is in the main, less than 2 or 3 years. We know Ryan was the second longest serving in the Championship, and yet we sign players on 3 or 4 year contracts. So the players have to be club signings, albeit we don't sign players our manager says absolutely no to, but they are club signings and they're for our future.
Just rounding the interview off, when you're talking about your phone blowing up and you've got the list of people, is it quite an exciting opportunity when a manager moves on and you get the opportunity then to bring a new face to the football club? It might give the whole place a boost, and it could, as you said, it could be the one that takes the club to the next level.
Look, any change, you have to make sure it's positive change. And even if you don't initiate the change, it is an opportunity. And I don't think it takes a genius to understand that the mood of our supporter base, and they pay their money to come and watch the team, has not been positive recently. And it is not difficult to understand why. And therefore our job is to try and entertain, excite and win football matches. And to the degree you then have an opportunity to make a change, you have to make a change with that in mind. So our challenge now is to get it right, to make sure that the people who do pay the turnstiles go away having enjoyed what they've seen, hopefully having seen us win, and think that we know what we're doing. And they don't always agree with all of those factors.